Hello and welcome everyone. I am Heather Mead.
And I'm Freya Sajad. We're so excited to bring you this episode on a very critical topic water scarcity and how it impacts us right here in Lahore. Water scarcity affects millions worldwide. But how does it affect our own community? Today, we'll explore the causes, the impact, and most importantly, what's being done to address this issue.
To help us understand this issue, we are joined by Dr. Derek Picker, a leading expert in environmental sciences here in Farming Christian College University. Professor, thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with the basics. Professor, what does water scarcity means from a scientific perspective and how is it measured?
Yeah, so water scarcity is really when there is not a lot of water for everyone. And that's basically measured by the amount of water available per person. So if you have so many liters available and you have so many millions of people, then you get so many liters per person available. And some countries have a very small amount available, and other countries have much more available. So the dry, arid countries have, even though those with a big population can still have a small amount available per person. So that's scarcity.
That's really interesting. So, when we hear about water scarcity, we might think it's a problem in far off places. But is water scarcity really an issue here?
Yes, in Lahore in particular, because Pakistan is basically an arid country. It doesn't rain much except for outside the monsoon season. So it is almost semi-arid. So if you don't irrigate, then nothing will grow or not much grows. So yes, the scarcity is there. There are plenty of rivers from which Pakistan gets its water, but there's also a lot of people. And if you limit to just Lahore has got lots of groundwater, but a lot of people are also accessing that groundwater, and therefore the amount of groundwater available reduces year by year.
So, climate change is partly to blame. Can you explain how climate patterns impact water availability in here?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. It depends a bit how climate change is expressed or what the effect of climate change is. If it results in a drying climate, the effects are not the same across the whole world. If the effect on Pakistan is a drying climate, then there will be less rainfall and therefore the scarcity will increase. If it results in more rainfall, for example, then you could say the scarcity will decrease. But the other impact, and that is universal, is that the glaciers are melting due to an increase in air temperature. So when we get more ice melt, and therefore the rivers are carrying more water. So for a short period of time, you might find that for Pakistan there is more water in the rivers available. But if after 50 years all the glaciers have disappeared, then basically there is no more meltwater or not as much. And therefore the scarcity will become a very serious issue.
And what about human activities, agriculture, industrial use, and pollution? How big of an impact do they have?
But they do, particularly on the availability of fuel, particularly with because industry might use water and then they discharge polluted water back to where they got it from or somewhere else. And then maybe the total amount of water doesn't change, but the access to clean water will certainly change. And is changing due to industrial activity or agriculture.
So let's move on to how this all affects us here in Lahore. Professor, how is water scarcity impacting local agriculture?
local agriculture, I think you find more and more people would be having to dig deeper and deeper to get to the water. So farmers would put in a tube well and they find that it runs dry, so they have to put in a new one a bit deeper. Or you might find somewhere else where the amount of salty water um, that they attract, because as they access fresh water and the fresh water levels drop, you might start to attract salty water from somewhere else. So that's something you don't want.
And for local households and businesses, what kind of changes are they making because of water scarcity?
Um, it's probably in the way that they have difficulty accessing water to use. As I described before, maybe they have to put in a deeper well or a deeper tube well, and that costs some money. So, yeah, and I think that's the impact that will have on households.
Okay, so what are the impacts of this on health and the health impacts on this? Is there any connection with health or water scarcity?
I'm sure there is, but it's not as clear cut because people have less access to particularly clean water, then of course, then polluted water will be hazardous for their health. But if you get less clean water, then maybe people would be using it less to clean themselves or to wash their hands or just being more mindful to not to use water, and therefore maybe indirectly it might change their health.
And from an economics perspective, does this situation impact our local economy?
I would say so. Yeah, the scarcity. Again, if this results in having to go deeper, put in bigger pumps, more expensive pumps that can go deeper, and that will certainly impact the economy.
Okay, with all these challenges, let's turn to solutions. What is being done locally to manage scarcity? Is there any measures that local community or the government is taking?
Yes, so the solutions would be in the realm of replenishing groundwater in such way that we can expect water that we have replenished. So we expect more than we have to replenish more, and that water has to come from somewhere. And it doesn't rain more, then we have to get the water from the rivers. So the rivers, therefore, will carry less water, or less water will go towards collection. So, but that is not done at a meaningful level at the moment, as far as I'm aware. That the government is looking at deliberately replenishing the groundwater in Lahore. So, as far as I know, that's not happening.
And what do you think about rainwater harvesting? How
Yes.
effective has it been?
Well, that in itself is very effective because instead of letting the water flow away for somebody else to use it, it will be used, so it's not wasted. But you remove it from the Lahore area. So rain harvesting would be very effective, but you have to do it on a scale that makes it effective. Just one house here, one house here, doesn't make a difference. You need to do it on a society basis, or like we have one recharge well here. Pepsi College is installed by WWF, and that has absolutely zero impact on the water supply for FC College because we have a big pump there behind S block. Then we pump it into the reservoir, the big tank. But that tube well, the water in that tube well is also dropping year by year.
We're Professor, as we come to the end of our discussion, we'd like to ask what more do you think needs to be done to tackle water scarcity here in Lahore?
I think the government needs to take a clear lead in coming up with solutions that will address water scarcity, both in actual infrastructure that is needed to see that happen, but also education of people, particularly young people, um, learning or showing that water should be treated like a food, and something that food we don't waste. So water is probably more important than food, but that's not to be wasted. So come up with educational programs that really show that water needs to be treasured and needs to be looked after.
Okay, so if you could give one piece of advice to all our listeners and or how they could contribute to this effort, and what would it be?
Uh, Treat water as a commodity, something that is very important, something that you shouldn't be wasting.
Thank you so much, Professor Dirk Becker, for sharing your expertise and insight with us today.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope this episode has given you a clear picture of the challenges around Lahore about water scarcity and what's being done to address them.
Remember, water is one of our most precious resources. Every drop counts, so let's do our part to conserve and protect it.
Thanks again, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And until next time, stay informed, stay curious.